I'm excited because I think that for the first time in a long time that we are seeing some activism and people are out in the street to do some things. One of the things I find frustrates me a lot is that we tend to not want to organize and get in the street and be very visible. And if ever there's a time that we need to be visible, this needs to be the time for us to do that. I am here today, and I've got two other representatives from the Charleston branch NAACP that will be here. I have been honored for the last 10 years to serve as the president of the Charleston branch NAACP. And while I said anytime we have issues of economics, of other ills in the city, in the state of South Carolina, the African American family, the African American community, the minority community, the people of lower income and economic status, they feel it worse. So when I said when it rains for everybody else, it's storming for our community, okay? When I think one of the elected officials says, you know, when somebody else has got a cold, we got pneumonia. Trust me, that's what we've got. Really glad that we are taking up the time to come and make a point publicly, nationally, and join a part of a bigger movement, because it's bigger than South Carolina, and hopefully this will continue to grow to be something that we can look back at, and years from now we can tell our children, our grandchildren, and folks that says, you know, we were a part of something that really made a difference. Because I think that unless we do what we're doing now to stand up not only to this, but to stand up to the Bank of America and all of the other issues we're dealing with, until we talk to our speak loud enough to be heard to our elected officials, our governor in Columbia, things are not really going to change for the masses of the people. And I'm just really pleased to be able to stand here today and say the NAACP stands strong with this movement, and hopefully as the gentleman, I'm trying to remember his name. What's his name? And Mr. Hamilton said, I can bring some more pepper to the salt here. In other words, we can see a more diverse group of folks coming out, because I know I have some younger people who are now picking kids up from school, who are now doing some other things that I'm saying this weekend before this 99 hours are up, we want to make sure that we get some more people here. So I am not going to, you folks probably see me out there enough, and my mouth is always going and always got a lot to say. I would like to also have one of our newest addition to our leadership team of the NAACP, Gwen Robinson. She's an attorney in the area, but she also is a part of our executive committee. I'm going to let her come before you, and unless there's some question you want to ask. And then Reverend Darby is supposed to be here at 2:30 to speak as well. Now, I don't know if I've said enough, but you guys tell me. I told them early on I didn't have anything profound. I'm just excited to be here and be a part of the movement. Are we good? Thank you.
Somebody take a picture of me so I can give it to my grandson, please. Hello, Charleston. Hello, Charleston. My name is Gwendolyn Robinson. I bring you greetings from an organization which means social justice. I'm the political action chair of the local NAACP. And I am encouraged by today's initiative because for years and years and years, a lot of people in South Carolina just kind of sat back and let the forces dominate our lives. And I'm just so proud of the gray hair in this audience, in that this is an indication that we still have a lot of usefulness remaining, and a lot of us are fighting not so much for ourselves but for our grandchildren. And having just become a grandmother, hey, I'm at the forefront of the fight. But be aware that the greatest threats to social justice are not terrorism and despotism. The greatest threats to social justice are fear and apathy. Fear that the enemy is so daunting that we are rendered powerless. Apathy in that, in the face of that strong enemy, there's nothing that we can do. I think this is an indication that both of those are false premises. This movement has sparked an international response, not just in Charleston, not just on Wall Street, but literally all over the world. For the 99%, that has to be an encouraging sign. It says we're not powerless. It says that if enough of us get together, and if this keeps happening, Wall Street will listen, and so will Washington. When you look at what's going on in Washington and what we were entertained to over the last couple of months, there are several things that are very significant. Marching, demonstrating are all important. We need those things to raise issues. But let me tell you what's really important. Your biggest weapon is your right to vote. That's where change takes place. Legislators, Wall Street, corporations, they might notice us out here, but what really gets their attention is our power, the citizens' power, to replace those people who aren't working on our behalves. When you've got legislators who march slavishly to the tunes that Grover Norquist plays, and when you've got assaults on depositors like we've just recently gotten from Bank of America, that lets you know we need to stay busy, we need to become active, we need to send these people a message. I wrote Bank of America a letter last night that said, I know my small account won't make a difference, but there are 1 million Gwen Robinsons who have $20 deposited at Bank of America, and when we get together, when we step forward, then you're going to listen to us. So, voting. Nothing's more important than voting. South Carolina has joined 33 other states to put in place some of the harshest voter suppression initiatives that we've seen since Reconstruction. It is up to us, the citizens. Vote, make sure you vote, make sure you encourage your neighbors to vote, your churches, your family. That is the key to our power. Don't let the initiatives that they've put in place keep us from exercising our constitutional and God-given rights to be active members of this republic. Thank you.
Hang with her. Reverend Darby's here. Reverend Darby's next.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, this is just for that.
This is just for this. Okay, I'll do the imitation microphone and I'll use my preacher voice. Let me commend everybody for what you're doing
It's
first.
a lot better if you speak from upwind,
Upwind.
from that direction.
Stand on this side.
No, back up, back up.
Back up.
All the way to the edge of the circle. That would be good.
There.
Send people to back to the people and then
And
tell
y'all
us
that are
that.
behind to move around in front of it. That way the wind will be working
Come
for Reverend Darby rather than against him.
All right. I don't argue with that.
Then you let it work against us.
So why didn't you tell me that?
I was making sure that the trash dumpster got properly.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I heard you well.
They didn't want to hear no witness. They didn't want to hear no
All
witness.
right.
I heard you. I heard you.
That's right.
Now that the congregation has been moved, let me commend you for what you're doing first. It makes a difference. And I hope that people are clear on who you are. You are patriots, like the original patriots. The original patriots stood in the face of an oppressive and coercive government. You are standing in the face of an oppressive and coercive financial system and demanding equity and demanding justice. And I celebrate that because that's what the NAACP has been doing since 1909. I hope you keep that up, and I hope that you have stick-to-itiveness. My hope is that this is the beginning of a new movement. And it can be if we learn from the old movement. Learn from the civil rights movement. When the civil rights movement began, the first thing the powers that be did was to laugh it off. Say this isn't going anywhere. This is just a small group of malcontents, but we don't really have to worry about that. They're too small to do anything. When that movement stayed there and started to grow, they started to say, well, what do these people want? They haven't exactly told us what it is that they want. They ought to tell us what we want, what they want, and then we can do something about it. Then after that, when it kept growing, they said, these people are dangerous. They're led by outside agitators. They're being subversive. I've already heard on the news that Occupy is everything from communist to anti-Semitic. So they're already in that phase. That fear phase, they will try to stop you from working. But if you keep at it, you can make it a difference, and a difference is very badly needed because bigotry and economy go hand in hand. Bigotry and economy brought my ancestors to these shores. Bigotry and economy stirs up people who should have an affinity with the NAACP, but have been told you have to be scared of those people. They'll take your jobs, they'll take your women, and they'll take your well-being. Business and economy works in strange ways. That's why BMW located in South Carolina, because South Carolina has a deep water port in Charleston, but built their plant in Greenville, which is very white, very affluent, and very Republican. Business and economy work in strange ways. If you don't believe it, go down to the Charleston market, where some vendors who have been there for years are now on the margins because they're trying to change the flavor, the temperature, and the connection of the market, and we ain't gonna let them do it. Business and economy work together, and business and economy fuel government. When we stand up and when America stands up, and I have every confidence that what this will do is help America to stand up more together, then there will be a change. People will have to be forced to change because power does not concede anything without a struggle. When we engage in that struggle and when we stay in that struggle and when we jump across all of the bridges that normally divide us, then we'll change the nation for the better, and we really can then honestly talk about being a place that's about liberty and justice for all. Thanks, and God bless you.
Everybody know that if you want to know, as they ask us and tell us that we don't have a point or we don't have anything, any real grievances, Occupy New York has put a document out where they list the grievances against corporations, and it includes everything from the failure of Wall Street to our jobs and whatever cities to the way we treat and on inhumane animals. You can look it up just by Googling Occupy Wall Street document, and you'll find it. I don't know the exact website.
Occupy Charleston has its own separate, unique document like that it was drafted over 2 weeks, approved by our General Assembly a week ago tonight.
Is it on
It's on occupycharleston.org. It's the Charleston Resolution.
Very good.
Right here, I think we should not put a lot of energy into the claims of the movement not having a point. I think the existence of the movement itself is a statement that we are not satisfied with the way the economic situation in this country is run, the fact that a small number of people buy their way into leadership. They govern what we do, where we can buy, and as Big Daddy King said last night, or night before last, at the debates, that how you're impacted by the 999 depends on whether you buy used goods or new goods. So had I had the means, I would have asked them, now where do you suggest we get used food from? Since poor people spend 40% of their income on food and other consumables, okay? So when you look at things like this, please don't be dissuaded by these claims that we don't have a point. It's just rabble-rousing. Let me tell you, as Reverend Darby said, that's the same claims that were made against the initial actions for the civil rights movement. And God forbid, thank God we did not listen, that our ancestors and our forerunners did not listen and take the signs down and tear them away. So that's just tactics from the other side. I wouldn't spend a lot of energy on that.
Exactly. I think we all have several issues. I mean, I could list 12 things that I'm against.
Sorry, yeah.
Otherwise we can't hear you.
I could list 12 things that I'm against, like the outsourcing, etc. But we all have our own reason that we're here, and I'm just glad that we're all here. So, yeah. And like you said, we're not violent.
Everyone understands that you can bring your tent and camp at this event. Like, right? Unlike New York, I'm sorry, I'm trying to dry out my feet. Unlike New York, you can camp here at Brittle Bank Park. You can rough it by sleeping under some Tibetan prayer flags in a sleeping bag, or you can come to have the luxurious arrangements I have, where I have an entire mattress inside my tent. I'm not roughing it at all, and yeah, you can make yourself comfortable here and be part of this community 24 hours a day. And as I've said a couple times earlier today, when this presentation's over, get on your cell phone, call your friends, hit Twitter, hit Facebook, tell people where you are, what you're doing, and what you're hearing.
I just wanted to say one thing off what you were talking about with the Bank of America. We do live in a capitalist society, and how we spend our money and where we put our money means something. So taking money out of Bank of America and put it in a local bank, it does say something. And if you have 1 million people do it, it says something even louder. So I think one of our focuses should definitely be on using the tools at hand of capitalism. Some people here may be against that, but we live in that kind of society, and we need to use our money effectively to get our points across and to make some change. And I think that is one of the best things we can do, is change banks. Just my 2 thoughts there.
Can I say,
Yeah.
I know y'all are sick of hearing me, but I think it is so significant that everybody out here, most of us, have gray hair. And what that says is that we have seen enough of the cycles, the political cycles, the economic cycles in this country, that we know how it's impacted. Most of us have been personally impacted. We know what to look for, and it's not as easy to use smoke and mirrors and sleight of hand on our age group, and I'm just proud to be a part of this initiative for that reason.
Well, don't panic about the young. They're down at Bank of America pounding.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So with us working, even though this was sparked as a youth movement, I think the fact that we've joined it, that we realize that we have as much at stake, is so important. And I just congratulate everybody who's out here.
Can you talk about what the NAACP is doing right now in terms of supporting the Justice Department fighting the voter ID law here in South Carolina?
The voter ID law in South Carolina now, the state conference, whenever there's a state initiative, while we've got a vested interest here in Charleston, and we as the NAACP here have worked closely with the League of Women Voters, who nobody does it better than the League and ACLU. So we've been in line with them. Now, I know that the NAACP has sent in the information in terms of some of the actual effects that that law will have, and now waiting on a response.
30 days.
Yeah, the 30 days, but the additional information that was being required. And most recently, information came out, and that came by way of Barbara Zier from the State League of Women Voters, actually giving some more minute details in terms of how the effect really does affect the African American community, particularly some of the areas that's at at some of the colleges and some of the precincts that are predominantly minority precincts, and these numbers that are being put out is, I mean, it is definitely inaccurate when you really look closely at these particular precincts. So our effort is not only to provide the information for the Justice Department that is needed, but also to work with, and I was just talking with the young lady with the voter ID, the voter registration department. We've got to be about the business of continuing to register people to vote. So whatever counter we can do to the effect that that's voter ID, should it pass, and we'd be able to have something to counter it. So that's pretty much where we are with it. So, Reverend Darby, is there anything you might want to say to that? Did I answer your question?
You did, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I just heard last night that the voter ID fee will not go into effect for at least 60 days. So the next election is in the clear because the information hasn't gotten back to where it needs to go for them to make a decision, and they have a 60-day time frame. So it's highly unlikely that there's any possibility that will affect this November election.
We've got some wonderful people coming at 3, and I think lunch is getting close.
If anyone's hungry, there's
You were really good, girl.
you're all welcome. Don't cost anything. If you want to eat or a snack.
You didn't know. You want to work,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But y'all, we'll be having another meeting at 3 o'clock. We have some more.